Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gyeongseong Creature Season 2, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. We have that opening where it seems like Ho-jae is getting his memories back because it seems, well, what we see later on, to my knowledge of, I might be misremembering, but like at the beginning of the episode, the prison he saw was the hospital, so it's his memories as Taeyong coming back, not necessarily memories he had as Ho-jae when he was there at that facility, because who knows if he ever saw the prison cells or not. You would assume yeah, because it seemed like everyone would go to those cells, just because everyone that got injected with the Najin would get locked up in there to kind of keep them in a single place and keep them locked up, whatever the case may be. But it is just his memory of hearing people scream out like, let me out, let me out. But like I said, I could be misremembering because I didn't pay as close attention, because my immediate assumption was, oh my god, this is his memories from the hospital. But it's like, no, it could be his memories from the, well, it's the same building regardless, but I don't know if those were past memories or present memories. My immediate thought, like I said, was past memories, but now I'm like, I don't remember if I was really paying attention to the doors on it, but I swear it looked like it was more so like that 40s style. But like I said, I could be mistaken, and if I am, do forgive me for misremembering. But either way, he wakes up in the hospital and he's handcuffed. I'm like, why is he handcuffed? And now it's, Jisoo shows up and she's accusing him of like, okay, you attacked Young-gil. He suffered several blows, so it's like, oh, they're immediately assuming he did it, especially because he has the motive of, oh yeah, your business isn't doing that well, you guys are in debt, you need money, is that why you did all of this? You have your fingerprints on the bat, but we do not have, and all his blood on it. And it's like, well, of course his fingerprints would be on the bat. Did he ever pick up the bat, like during that fight with any of those people last time? Because he had a baton last episode, but I don't think he ever picked up the bat. But I mean, his fingerprints could have been on a bat because he's used the bat before, so it could just easily be that. But Ho-jae remembers what happens as he was fading out, as he got knocked out. It was Hobin. I don't want to say Hobin. Jesus, got viral hit on the mind. Sorry. Young-gil knocked him out. And now I can't remember what I said last episode. I figured it was going to be something like that. My thought was like, okay, he tried to attack her, and that he tried to attack Sheok, and like a struggle happened, and because it's like she wasn't there, but the two of them were. So I didn't know what's going on. But it seems like, no, he purposely hit Ho-jae, and I think it's because of the whole element of, I want you to stay who you are now. I don't want you to go back. So it's like, did he know him before who he was? Or it's like, I know what you're coming from. I know what you did before. I know who you were before. I prefer you being who you are now. Once again, he was probably hired to look after him because of everything, which is also interesting considering, like, well, you have family ties to who he used to be. So that's why I'm like, I wonder what that relationship was like before him. Was there anything, or was he just someone hired to keep an eye on? There's just so much we don't know about that dynamic in that relationship prior to him losing his memories, which it never clicked in my head until this episode. Like, they kept showing the surgery thing and they kept referencing it. It never clicked in my head like, oh yeah, the surgery was for them to pull out the Najin, because at no point is he fully healing, because it's like, oh, he doesn't seem super strong or anything. It's because he's not anymore. They removed the Najin from him, which I thought was interesting, because it's like, well, you look at the scar goes up to like his neck, but I was like, they talk about how, at first I was like, well, they say that the Hojin, not Hojin, sorry, I'm all over the place. The Najin like kind of latch, well, it does sit on a certain part of the brain. Didn't they say like it's the top of the brain if you just have someone ingest it? But like Seongjo and Cheok's circumstances are a little different, because theirs are like in the back of their brain. So that's why I'm wondering, like, was his circumstances similar? Because they never reference Ho-jae. They only reference those two as having it in the back. Because like maybe like you grab the tail of the Hojin. I keep doing that. Sorry, the Najin. I don't know why I keep saying Hojin instead. It's like I'm trying to combine Ho-jae and Najin. I think that's the mistake I'm making. the Najin, like maybe you could grab the tail, because like it's not like the scar goes all the way up to his head, at least not that we could see. Maybe his hair's grown out to cover up the scar or something, but it's like it stops partway up his neck, but like almost like, because I thought like maybe it was a surgery on his spine or something, but because it's supposed to latch onto your brain and not necessarily your spine, but maybe where it is connect, maybe that's like the where it stops at, like where the brain stem is, and that allows you to pull. I don't know. But that's what I'm now being like, okay, so that's what the surgery was for. It was removing and I guess because the thing is latched onto your brain, whichever place it is on, I guess that's why your memories kind of go with it. It's because of that, considering the thing is latched onto your brain. So I guess that makes sense why it would kind of scramble your brain and kind of mess with your memories. Or maybe they went in and kind of like mess with certain parts of his brain to mess with his memories, but it could just be removing the Najin was enough. Because they kind of bring up the point of putting the Najin in someone, you don't remember anyone's face. Like you'll kind of be in a state where you don't recognize anyone at first, so it feels like it's almost the opposite of removing the Najin, where you kind of forget everything. But yeah, we had the main detective. He shows up at that building where they met up with Seong-jo and the others, and they can't really. They're seeing the aftermath of the place, like how some like the concrete pillars are busted up. These doors have like massive punch marks in them and stuff. And they ultimately ended up finding the nitrogen gas, which I couldn't remember last episode. I was like, I knew there was some kind of sleeping gas, so I just wasn't sure what it was. I was like, I knew it was something specific they use to knock those with the Najin out, but it's like, yeah, it was like nitrogen, and it's like, okay, so not much else, because there were no dead bodies, and even if there were, they probably gathered them up, but I don't think she was able to actually kill anyone, because they have regenerative abilities, so she probably didn't do enough damage to like lay them out. She probably knocked down, eventually recovered and got back up. Either way, Seong-jo takes it upon himself to show up at the hospital, and it's like, oh, you want to brush me off, OJ, but don't you want to know where the girl is? And sadly, here Chiaki is back in this place, all too familiar, especially obviously her history and her connection to this place. But she meets, what's the character's name? Was it Gyeongseong? The guy, I didn't know they were going to get him this soon, but they set it up last episode. The reminder of, oh yeah, like he was going to get like training at the biotech. Like once again, he was going to be going for like training for like a month, and I was like, okay. So, and the sad thing is, he thought like, right, I'll get like 10 million won, but also I'll be able to get past my disability. I'll be able to kind of walk normally again. And amongst the people in his test group, he is currently the only one that survived. Everyone else died horrifyingly. So it's like, damn, that sucks. Now you got to live with the trauma of like all these different people that died, and you watched it, and you're going through it right now. And it's just, you see the thing of like Cheok wants to help, considering like it's the reality of like, wait, oh my God, he's going through this. What's going on? And then when he gets visited by the main, like, not the main dude who runs the company, but he's like the main Najin overseer dude, the one that's kind of in charge. He's like the number one Najin dude. That he comes in and talks to her, and she finally pieces it together. Like, I'm in the hospital, and he's like, yeah, this place was started by Kato and Lady Maeda, and it's like, in that mind, it's like, yeah, after everything went down, they eventually started this business after this hospital got shut down and stuff like that. And it's just the reality of this entire time, all these years later, this has been going on. She thought maybe they put a stop to this all those years ago, stopped it all, and now finding out it's been going on this entire time. She's been living her life never knowing this has all been happening underneath her nose, that there are more victims, people like her mom, and that's just, it was already kind of like, oh, she's seen that firsthand with, like I said, I think the character's name is Jong Hyuk, but now realizing like, oh, how many other people there exactly were. It's like, I thought we shut down these experiments. I thought we stopped this. And just for the main guy behind it and one of the main women behind it, working together to continue that, and just how frustrating and how, just so many lives sacrificed, and they don't seem to care. So obviously he's asking questions about Cheok, trying to find out who she is, because the whole point was Najins have not escaped this facility, so it's like, how could anyone outside of our knowledge have known? How could this be? So it's like, also, are there any more of you out there? It's like, well, to our knowledge and to her knowledge, she's the only one outside of all this, because she was under the assumption, now that her mom was dead, that she was the only one. So she doesn't realize or know that Seong Jo is Myung's son. So that there is a connection from the past in that regard. I wonder, before he lost his memories, did Ho Jae ever know that? Does I'm serious? I'm curious. Like, Seong Jo's, like, he knows that Ho Jae used to be Taesung Jang, but he's like, I don't care who you were. I just want you to be the Ho Jae I knew. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he knows, like, that, like, Jang had ties to his mom or not. In fact, it's all kind of started with him being hired by Ishikawa to find her, you know, so. Which is ironic, considering how everything, the fallout to that whole situation in the grand scheme of things. Either way, I'm bouncing around, so do forgive me. Ho Jae ended up visiting Yeongil, and in his, like, still out of its state, he's like, don't go back. Stay, Ho Jae, please. And, you know, it becomes a situation of, he knows, like, right, this is tied to something from who I was. This guy knows who I was. This is about also getting to making sure that Cheok is okay, because I'm slowly remembering stuff, but what's going on here? So he goes back to their place, and he starts looking around, and he sees the pictures, and the picture of Yeongil's grandfather, and he unfolds the photo and finds out, it's a picture of him and Yeongil's grandfather. He sees everyone from, like, the what's it, House of the Golden Treasure. I always forget the place's name, but the photos, and it's him in it, and he's starting to remember more and more. And there was that portion of the wall that Cheok was staring at last episode, so he busts it down because it's like a hollow wall, and he finds the safe, and it's like he finds the room, like, where they kept all the, like, items that were kind of collateral from people. And amongst the stuff, it seems like he has all these different identities, I guess, that he's taken over the years. And so that's the thing of, like, so Ho Jae must have been, like, the identity he had when he met Seong Jo. But then the question is, well, we know, because obviously he was born in the 40s, so that's also interesting to think about. Like, at what point did he had to reach adult age and then stopped aging? Is that how that works? I mean, he's the first one we come across that's like a natural born, you know, person with the Najin situation. So, you know, how did that whole situation work? Once again, will they get into the nitty gritty details of that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, he is, like, over, like, 80. He's like 80-ish years old. And just as Ho Jae is getting back his memories, Seong Jo shows up and proceeds to kick his ass all over the place. And it's like, oh yeah, you're weak. Do you want to get your powers back? Like, you're not going to be able to do anything as weak as you are now. And it's just like, he's like, you remember, you gave me the best advice. He was like, basically, whatever you're dealing with, face it, stare it down, face it down. Don't run away from it. Look it in the eyes type of situation. And it's like, you don't know that you told me that, but you'll remember soon enough. And I thought the point was, I didn't know what he was going to do, because especially at the same time, Jisoo shows up at the place, and by the time she gets in there, like, Jeong Jo has already taken off with Ho Jae and brings him to a place at the biotech facility, and it's a giant tank, I guess, where they keep the Najin. I don't know if, like, maybe that's the one that was already in Ho Jae that they took out, or maybe it's a different one, but we only see one swimming in there, so I don't know if that's the only one available or what. But it's a very specific one they focus on, so there might have been others in that tank, I don't know, but he's giving Seong Jo the choice. It's like, Seong Jo's giving Ho Jae the choice of, hey, you can either get back your memories and go back to being who you are. Once again, I don't care about you being Ho Jae or whether you go back to being or Jang. I just want you being back the person I got to know. So We also had, like, earlier in the episode, there was a conversation between Kaito and Maeda about the whole conversation about people being imperfect, and it's like because of those imperfectness, and it's essentially she has a very pessimistic view on humans, saying that people will not, most of the time, everything that humans do will always be out of necessity of self-preservation, that there are no naturally, goodness is not in people, that people will always side on choosing selfishness, and it's almost like because people are like that, like they need to be led. There are no leaders. Most people will be followers, and it's like it's up to us to kind of bring in this new age of humanity and kind of evolve humanity. And it's like because of that, we need to bring him back. So I'm assuming that's in reference to Hojie. Like, I don't know why he would be so important to all of this. I mean, not unless there was someone else they were in reference. But yeah, but like as I brought up before, we found out that Kaito and I think I said Kaito. I wanted to say Kaito before. It's Kato, right? I might have said Kaito earlier in the episode, but I do believe it's Kato. Him and Maeda ended up starting this company. Cheok to an all too familiar facility. She's just looking around and is like, yeah, it's different, but it's the basement area where her mom was sealed up in, and obviously things are different. Soldiers around, guns trained on her in case she makes a move. And so Maeda shows up there too, and you're like, okay, so here it goes. It's like face to face after all this time. But like Cheok doesn't really have a reaction. Like, I was like, oh, I thought you would have a different reaction. It's Maeda in front of you. And Maeda kind of seems so like stoic about seeing her. That's why I was so confused. And then she steps aside and a younger woman shows up. I was like, wait, what? At first I was like, is that going to be her mom? But it's like, no, it's actually Maeda. So I'm like, okay. So we know the company, the current chairman who runs the biotech is Kato's son. So now I'm like, so I'm wondering if, because that's what kept confusing me, because I'm like, would Kato and Maeda still be around after all this time? Like, even just aging wise, they'd be like, both would be like, if not over 100 years old. So that's why I was so confused. Like every time we saw a Kato, I was like, I was thinking that was like the Kato we knew. It's like, no, that's Kato Jr. That was his name, Shinji O. That's Kato's son. The old woman, because they kept referring to her as like Lady Maeda. Not unless they were just referencing Lady Maeda and she is someone that serves Maeda. But part of me was like, well, we have Kato's son, so could she be Maeda's son? And so she found the means of staying young, and she's been operating everything from the shadows yet again, so, so that's got to piss you off, because she's the one that set so much in motion. In fact, she's the one that, do correct me, because I could be misremembering, wasn't she the one, it wasn't just Myung she sent there, didn't she also, put Cheok's mom through all this? I think she was the one responsible for that. I can't remember what the reasons were, though. I don't remember if it was, like, I know the Myung of it all was because of Ishikawa and her getting pregnant, but I swear, because it wasn't there history between Maeda and Cheok's mom? I'm blanking on the details of it. Maybe they'll refresh my memory next episode when they kind of talk about it, maybe, but yeah, so, like, that's so interesting. Once again, how did Jang end up in a circumstance that he would have one? We know how Cheok got here, but how did Jang get here to this point? Same thing for, well, Maeda's kind of comes as no surprise. She's her, so it makes sense why but it's like, why, like, that's why I'm like, did Jang do it willingly, or was he taken and forced, and did he kind of disappear like Cheok did? I don't know. We won't know until he gets his memories back to fill in a lot of those gaps. Maybe that's also another reason why it's like, oh, you don't want to go back to being who you were before you lost your memories, because you weren't a good guy. Maybe that's also another angle for Yeongil. It's like, you're a better person now without your memories, but you get your memories back, you're not going to be that good person anymore. So we'll have to wait to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and Goodbye.